Welcome back to the double leg. I'm one half of the show, Hey Jeff Picks. The other half of the show, the parlay. Joining me we got some UFC 283 to break down. You're looking to stay in the green. How you feeling?
Good, man. I like this card a lot more than I did last week's, if I'm being honest, from a betting standpoint. I think we got better fights, better matchups. Last week was tough. A lot of huge favorites, and there are some big favorites on this card. But we do have 15 fights. We've got a lot of finishers on this card. And I think we're in for a couple wars throughout the night. I can't wait. I'm feeling good about the bets. I can't wait to see some of the props that come out this week. But I'm looking forward to UFC 283.
Yeah, like you said, 15 fights. So don't have to make a play on every fight. That's always a struggle to not make a play on a certain fight. But a lot of opportunities, a lot of young talent on this card. The Bonfim brothers, looking forward to seeing them. And a couple other guys coming off the Contender Series. You got Jelton Almeida coming back again. Everybody's excited about him. Gregory Rodrigues stepping in there against Bruno Ferreira. I think that's how you say it. Who just obliterated a dude on Dana White Contender Series. So, yeah.
Gilbert Burns?
Gilbert Burns, the retirement of Shogun. It's not a stacked card by any means, but some good names on there, and should be some good fights.
Yeah.
So, little announcement before we get into it. Join the Facebook group, the Double Leg Fam. DM us on Instagram or send us an email. Everything will be in the description for that. It's a growing group. We give out our plays in there, and everyone in there is having a good time and talking some fights, enjoying some fights. And if you like MMA, if you like UFC, if you like betting, make sure to get in there. Without any further ado, we'll get into it with the main event. Glover Teixeira and Jamal Hill. Glover Teixeira coming in as the dog here. It's pretty much a pick 'em, but if we're looking at the best odds out there, BetOpenly's got it plus 115 for Glover Teixeira and minus 115 for Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill's only lost to Paul Craig, where he got his arm snapped. Glover Teixeira coming off the round 5 loss to Yuri Prochazka. He's looking to get his belt back. Who are you liking in this one?
I'm torn. I really am, because I love Glover Teixeira. I love that he's doing this at 43, 44 years old. Is he 44 yet? Let's see.
He's 43.
43. So he will be 40. Okay, he just turned 43. But for him to be able to do this at this age is insane, man. I mean, you don't see 43-year-olds who have, 41 fights in their professional career go out there and win championships. It's insane what he's doing. So I want Glover to win. I think it's great for the sport. I think, he's a really great person, deserves the belt, but Jamal Hill is a killer. And Jamal Hill, we've seen time and time again put people out with that right hand. He's 11-1, so he doesn't obviously have near the experience as Glover Teixeira. But at some point, Glover's got to slow down a little bit. He's got to start wearing this punishment a little bit more each fight. I mean, he's coming off of a war with Yuri Prochazka where he took a lot of damage in that fight. And at 43 years old, taking that much damage isn't good at all. It's not good for your chin, your body. And I think Jamal Hill could expose that a little bit. I think if Jamal can keep it on the feet and box with Glover Teixeira, he's going to find a home for that right hand, whether it's often or not as often. It will get through at some point. And if he can just land it a couple of times, I think we're going to start seeing Glover deteriorate a little bit and maybe slow down. And I think Jamal Hill is going to get the win if he can keep it on the feet. It's a tall task because Glover's, once Glover gets you on the ground, you're really not getting up. But Jamal Hill's big, man, and he's athletic. He's tall. He's strong. I think he can keep it on the feet. I'm banking on him to do so. My pick's got to be Jamal Hill here.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at Glover Teixeira's run to the title, beat Anthony Smith as an underdog, plus 175, beat Thiago Santos as a plus 200 underdog, beat Jan Blachowicz to get the belt at plus 215, was plus 180 underdog in his title defense to Yuri Prochazka, was about to win that fight until he got submitted with 28 seconds left. So, I mean, he's proven that he can come through as a dog, but that also makes me question. I I don't want to say he's winning by fluke, but is he just getting the better of a guy on a certain night? And, why isn't Vegas respecting him if he keeps winning as a dog? So when I look at this one, Glover Teixeira, he's been around the block. He's taken a lot of damage, especially in that fight with Yuri Prohaska. Was scheduled to have the rematch. That fell through. Got offered the fight for the belt with Magomed Ankalaev. Turned it down. That makes me question things. Why would he turn that down? Obviously, it is a different opponent, and he said he would take it in Brazil against Ankalaev, but they wanted to go through with the title shot. So, was it that you're scared of Ankalaev, or that you just felt like you needed to prepare differently? I mean, you were preparing for Yuri Prohaska, so was it the wrestling you're, scared of with Ankalaev or anything? But if it's the stand up with Ankalaev, Jamal Hill, I would probably say is better on the feet, and Jamal Hill's a potent finisher. So I got to go with Jamal Hill in this one. I mean, he finished Thiago Santos in round 4. That was a big fight for him because he was going up against another powerhouse, a guy that can shut the lights out. Obviously, not anything like he once was, but to go into the later rounds and still find the finish was a big deal there. First round finishes against Johnny Walker, Jimmy Crute, and then the loss to Paul Craig. The guy just seems like he has it, and that's not exactly like the best reason to back him in a bet. But to me, he's, I don't want to say levels above Glover Teixeira, but he's just younger and he's a lot faster and he can take more damage. And he's seems like he's a little bit more willing to attack than some of Glover's other opponents. Not saying Yuri Prohaska doesn't want to attack you, but Jamal Hill is going to go after you. That's the point I'm trying to say here. And Glover Teixeira, at his age, his athleticism now, I don't think he can get those takedowns or at least hold him down like Jamal, or because Jamal Hill is so athletic. So I'm going to go with Jamal Hill in this one. And I was on Jamal Hill when the fight got announced. So I still think he wins. And does he hold on to it for a while? Who knows? But the man out of Michigan, I'm going to take him. And at these odds, I don't hate it because Jamal Hill's been a pretty big favorite in most of his fights, except that one against Jimmy Crute, where he was an underdog and got the win in the first round. So give me Jamal Hill.
And if you do like Glover, like you were saying, BetOpenly right now is 10 points better than any other sports book. You can get Glover at plus 115. Who knows? Maybe that grows a little bit between now and the fights, but Jamal Hill minus 115, Glover Teixeira plus 115 on BetOpenly. That's got to be the best odds you can get right now.
Yeah.
I know DraftKings is minus 125, minus 105. So yeah, I think if you're on Glover Teixeira in this fight, download BetOpenly or sign up at BetOpenly and get him at plus 115.
Yeah, pay-per-view too, so you're going to get a lot of action on that site. We'll put a link in the description to the site. Best odds you're going to find. If you have a play on there that you want to challenge one of us, DM it to us on Instagram or anything like that. Call us out, and we may take it. So, yeah, that is that. I think Glover is probably going to retire after this.
I do too.
Win or lose. So, at his age, like, if you're going to go out, you're going to go out in Brazil, in your home country. So,
right. And I thought it was coming after his fight against Yuri, honestly, but
I thought so too.
Coming back to Brazil, it's his card. I agree with you.
Yeah, seems like it was destined to be that he does it in Brazil. And personally, hate betting on fighters that are going to retire. So, yeah, there could be one foot out the door, but it is a championship fight, so that's always a little bit different.
Right.
The other championship fight of the night, Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon the Assassin Baby Moreno. Quadrilogy. She's like for Figueiredo, this would be the fourth fight in a row against Brandon Moreno. Moreno won the fight against Kai Kara France in between the third and the fourth fight here. So, I mean, does that help Moreno at all, do you think?
I don't know. I don't know if it necessarily helps him. But, he saw somebody else in the octagon a little bit sooner than, Deiveson did. Deiveson's been off for a year. Brandon Moreno has octagon time over the summer. But I don't know if it's necessarily going to help because Figueiredo's preparing the same way he's prepared for the last 3 fights. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I don't think there's an advantage either way. I think both of them have seen enough of each other in the octagon to where it's kind of evens itself out. But if you're asking me who I'm picking in this fight, I am going to go on the side of Brandon Moreno. And one, he's the underdog right now, which I like. I think either one of these guys, whichever one drops to the underdog, it's not a bad bet because they've shown over and over that they're so evenly matched. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't think if there's been, obviously there was a submission by Brandon Moreno in the one fight, but the other two were razor close. One was a draw, one went to Figgy, and both of those fights you could have gave to either one of those guys. But I'm a big Brandon Moreno fan. I like his story. I like the, either being cut by the UFC or just about, came back, first Mexican fighter to win a championship. That's awesome. The only thing that makes me nervous is that he's going down into Brazil, where Deiveson Figueiredo is from. He's going to be in enemy territory. And we all know Deiveson's good. I mean, obviously, he was dominant at the flyweight division when, Mighty Mouse left and Cejudo left. It was Deiveson Figueiredo, and he's obviously at this level for a reason. But if you look at both guys, for me anyways, I feel like Brandon Moreno is hungrier to get that belt and hold on to it. I feel like I don't want to say trains harder, but he is so focused on being the champion of the world. It's like he's obsessed with it. And I'm sure Deiveson is too. I just feel like Deiveson might be a guy that has more plans when he's done with the UFC, a guy who, has stuff lined out outside the UFC that he's involved in. But Brandon just seems strictly fighting, wants to be the champion of the world. He's going to do whatever it takes to get the belt, and I've got to back him for that reason. I like Brandon Moreno here, especially as the underdog.
Yeah, Moreno is 6 years younger as well, so he's got a little bit more of a career left. Was training with James Krause, and obviously can't do that anymore. So that's another thing to keep an eye on, aside from him going into Brazil, into enemy territory. Fun fact about these guys, since it is the fourth fight, the favorite in every fight has not won. So they had the draw in the first fight. Figueiredo was the favorite in the second fight, lost. Moreno was the favorite in the third fight, he lost. So now they're pretty much set at a pick 'em. Vegas is like, oh, we can't really get it right, so we're gonna, pretty much set yet a -110, -110. But
I am seeing now Moreno's a slight favorite. That must have switched somewhere. I feel like when I looked yesterday, it was switched, but the line probably will bounce back and forth.
Small move. But if you do like Deiveson Figueiredo, you're getting +110 on BetOpenly. Brandon Moreno comes back at -110. Keep an eye on those because I'm sure they'll probably be shifting a little bit as the week goes on. But I'm going to side with you here. I think Moreno is hungrier, and the volume that he throws out there, I'm always going to love because his activity is always there. Figueiredo seems like he kind of banks on hitting those power shots, getting those knockdowns like he did get in the third fight. I backed Figueiredo as an underdog and cashed that ticket. I backed Moreno as an underdog in the second fight, cashed that ticket. So I think I got a good read on these. All right. So I'm going to go with Moreno. And for the volume, for the want to win, the will to win, not that Figueiredo doesn't, but Moreno's just, like you said, he's just got that factor about him that seems like he's a little bit hungrier and has more to fight for at this point in his career. And he's coming off the loss to Figueiredo. I mean, Figueiredo got the belt back, and when you have the belt, man, you're just kind of a little bit more content, seems like. So, especially if you lose to a guy, you're always going to come back harder the next time. Like if you're playing pickup out in the back, in the backyard, a pickup basketball game, you lose to a guy that you play again, you're going to play a little bit harder the next time. So give me Brandon Moreno, and I like the price too. I certainly do. I mean, he was a minus 200 favorite against him in the last fight. So yeah, give me Moreno. We'll move on to Gilbert Burns and Neil Magny. This fight, we talked about it on one of our news shows back a few months ago, or a month or two ago. Kind of a weird fight to put together. It seemed like they kind of need to give Gilbert Burns a fight, and Neil Magny was like, "Yeah, I'll fight him because he's pretty high ranked up." And Gilbert's like, "I want to fight in Brazil, so I guess I'll take it."
Yeah,
it's pretty heavy favorite in this one. Both fighters are similar in age. Gilbert Burns coming off the loss to Chimaev. Neil Magny coming off the win to Daniel Rodriguez. Who do you got in this one? You taking Neil Magny as the dog or not?
I don't know if I can. And the reason I say that is I do a little bit of MMA math here. You look at what Khamzat Chimaev did against Burns. Super close fight all the way down to the wire. You know, decision probably could have gone either way. I think the judges got it right, but super close nonetheless. And then you look at what Chimaev would possibly do to Neil Magny. I think it's ugly. I think Chimaev gets in, takes him down, and just smashes him. So if you're looking at that, I think Gilbert Burns has the style to beat Neil Magny. You know, Neil Magny's a great grappler. He's tall and long. He doesn't really hit you with power shots. He's just got a lot of volume. But, I mean, Gilbert, if you look at that big shot he hit Usman with, he had him knocked down on one knee and a little bit dazed. So Gilbert's striking's come a long way. He's got power in the hands, and he's elite on the ground. So he's going to match Neil Magny, probably be better than him, you know, once it gets to the mat. So I don't see anywhere that Neil is going to really outfight Gilbert Burns in this fight. I think on the feet, yeah, he's going to have the volume and, you know, fights off a good jab. But Gilbert, I mean, he can crack. He had Chimaev hurt. He's had hurt Usman. So if Neil Magny wears one of those shots on the chin, could be all she wrote. And then on the ground, like I said, Gilbert's just a stud. So, yeah, I can't really back Neil Magny here. Obviously, the money line is ridiculous, though. I mean, Neil Magny's a solid fighter. I just can't get behind him. I can't even take a flyer on him, even at plus 350. I'm going to look at what the props are on this fight when they come out. Right now, even the under 1.5 rounds is minus 210, which I don't really know about that, though. I don't know. Over 1.5 plus 170 doesn't sound too bad, actually. I think we could see a lot of grappling and a lot of oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong fucking line. Jesus Christ.
I was going to say, that's pretty
I clicked yeah, okay. Over 2.5 is minus 150. Under 2.5 is plus 120. Okay, that makes more sense. Never mind. But at the end of the day, I'll wait to see what some KO props are potentially. But, you know, as far as taking Gilbert as that big of a favorite and Neil Magny, I just can't get behind anything on the money line there.
Yeah, Neil Magny plus 392 on BetOpenly. Gilbert Burns minus 392. I don't even know that I can get behind Gilbert Burns at that price. Like,
yeah,
just because I do think he wins for sure. But Neil Magny's pulled off some upsets before, and Gilbert Burns is going to be significantly undersized compared to Neil Magny. Gilbert Burns 5'10", Magny 6'3", 80-inch reach for Neil Magny, 71-inch reach for Gilbert Burns. So to me, does that mean Gilbert Burns goes and tries to wrestle and get the fight to the ground? Possibly. Neil Magny is definitely capable there. But if you're going to stand and strike with Neil Magny, he's got a great jab. And I don't know how I would like that fight playing out if I have a minus 400 ticket with Gilbert Burns, if it's just a on the feet back and forth type fight. So yeah, I'll take Gilbert Burns for the pick, but it's like not really sure how I could get behind that price. I don't even really feel good about sprinkling anything on the dog here because it's like I think Gilbert Burns going to lose in Brazil when he's like taking this fight because he probably knows he can beat him. Like, there's no real positive for Gilbert Burns taking this fight. You could say the same thing about his fight against Chimaev, but he still did it and still went out there and just laid his heart on the line and took some damage, gave some damage. So I'll take Gilbert Burns for the pick. I'll keep an eye on the props. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe look for a Gilbert by decision or something. I don't think he finishes Neil Magny. Shavkat Rakhmonov did finish Neil Magny. RDA finished him by submission. I mean, he's been finished here and there, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't think Gilbert Burns. He might. We'll keep an eye on it.
It might be a no bet fight, which sucks. Not betting on a Gilbert Burns fight, but really, I mean, I don't really want to take Gilbert Burns in a parlay at that price. Even a parlay at that price. Definitely not taking him straight. Yeah. So if there is a juicy prop, maybe, but it might just be one of those fights you kick your feet back and enjoy it, watch him fight. But I don't know. It's one of those that is screaming stay away for me.
Yeah, keep an eye on the props and figure it out then. But another pretty lopsided fight here. Jessica Andrade, the Brazilian, taking on Lauren Lucky Murphy, coming in as a pretty hefty underdog there. Her last win was to Miesha Tate as an underdog. And then the loss to Valentina with the title shot. Jessica Andrade coming up from 115 to 125. She's been here before, so it's not like it's a new thing. She fought at bantamweight before. Very thick girl, 5'1", 62-inch reach. So she's going to be a little bit undersized as far as length goes, but very strong and a big favorite in this one. On BetOpenly, she is minus 440. Lauren Murphy plus 440. What are you thinking on this one?
That's a little too wide, in my opinion. Just because in Lauren Murphy's last fight against Miesha Tate, she was near a 2-1 underdog, and I took her because I liked what I'd seen. And Miesha Tate, was a little bit older and had that huge layoff, and she won. But then you kind of look into it, okay, it is Miesha Tate who had a huge layoff and who is older, so maybe it's not that impressive of a win, or it's not as impressive as we maybe thought. But, I mean, Andrade, she's a beast. And she's got coming off of 2 wins, one to Lemos with that standing arm triangle, which is arguably the submission of the year. But she's also fought everybody in the division. Valentina Shevchenko, Rose Namajunas, Weili Zhang. She's beaten Rose, with that slam, kind of slammed her on her neck a while back, got the win there. And she even beat Caitlin Chukagian with a hook to the body in round 1 back in 2020. So she's beaten good opponents. She's lost to the best opponents in the division. But plus 440, Lauren Murphy. Because Lauren, if you look at her, I mean, she is jacked, dude. She is in the octagon, especially when she gets in there. She's pretty stout. She will have the size advantage, and she can strike with the best of them. So she's a little bit older, though, 39 years old. But at plus 440, I will probably sprinkle something on her just because she's been good to me in the past. Yeah. I do think Andrade finds the win here. But if Lauren Murphy can utilize that distance and her reach and her height, I think she could, stand and bang with Andrade just a little bit, just try to keep it there.
Yeah, I'm really thinking the same way. I'm like, women's MMA, we've seen big upsets happen before. This one isn't like out of the question, I wouldn't say. But Lauren Murphy is kind of prints money as an underdog. Like, she's was an underdog against Miesha Tate, underdog against Valentina, lost, but it's pretty everybody loses to her. Underdog against Joanne Wood, won. Underdog against Andrea Lee, won. Plus 230 there. Underdog against Mara Barala, won. Underdog against Sajar Eubanks, lost. Underdog against Barb Honchak, won. Plus 200 there. I mean, she just comes through. Like, even plus 200, plus 230, like, she's coming through as an underdog. And at this point, it's like she's the bigger girl, fighting at her normal weight. The only thing I don't like is her age, and she's going into Brazil. That's the only reason that I'm a little bit hesitant on it. So, yeah, I think it's probably worth a sprinkle at that price. Like, Jessica Andrade is a legend of the UFC. We'll just say that. I mean, she's fought at 135, 125, 115. She's been a champ at 115. Fought for the belt at 125 to Valentina and lost, but just an all-around fighter, really. But at that price, I think it's a dog or pass at that price, like considering the circumstances going up in weight and everything like that. But
yeah, and I mean, think of it this way: Lauren Murphy hasn't lost since 2018, so she is 6-1 in her last 7 fights, and her only loss is to Valentina Shevchenko. So I mean, at plus 440, show me that resume, and you're going to tell me she's plus 440 against anybody. I mean, there's a little bit of value, and it's Andrade who, I mean, she's been beat in the last couple of years multiple times. We've seen people beat her. I mean, Lauren Murphy lasted 4 rounds with Shevchenko, lost the ground and pound, and Shevchenko beat Andrade in the second by crucifix, had her in a terrible position, and just teed off on her. So, I mean, I think this is a lot more even than people think. I really do. I mean, yeah, Andrade, maybe she wins, but a 4-1, damn near 4.5 to 1 dog for Lauren Murphy, it's hard to ignore that.
Yeah, just because your fighter won the fight doesn't mean it was a good bet. Like that's something a lot of people don't understand. Like if you have a minus 200, minus 300 ticket and it goes to decision and you're like not sure if they won or not, that's a bad bet. Like that's not a good bet. So the value's all on Lauren Murphy to me, and it seems like you're on the same page. Paul Craig, Johnny Walker, a couple of, I'll say, wild fighters. Paul Craig is a little bit more wild character than his fight style, but it seems like Volkan Oezdemir gave the script on how to beat him. Just stay the fuck away from him, pretty much. Johnny Walker coming off the win against Iwan Kutalaba, and then a little bit of a rough patch there for him. I see plus money on Paul Craig, and I want to take the shot, man. I really want to take the shot. But considering his last performance, it's like if Johnny Walker does not go in there and do the exact same thing Volkan Oezdemir does, he would be an idiot. He would be a straight up idiot. But we know Johnny Walker likes to fight a little erratic and a little exciting. So I don't trust that he would do that. But either way, he did get the submission win to Iwan Kutalaba, but there's no way he's going to out-grapple Paul Craig if he gets it to the ground. So yeah, that really just leads me to think that it's either Johnny Walker by KO or it's Paul Craig by submission. So what is the over-under on this fight? I'll pull it up real quick.
It is 1.5 rounds. The under is minus 147 on BetOpenly, and the over plus 147.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I say Johnny Walker by KO or Paul Craig by submission if Johnny Walker fights his normal style. But if he fights the way Volkan Oezdemir did, it's just going to be that Paul Craig trying to pull you into his guard, Johnny Walker pulling out, and then they just a boring fight to a 3-round decision. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have any certain leans you're going with this one? Because this one is just screams red flags to me.
Yeah, I actually was hoping that Johnny Walker would be the underdog, because I am on Johnny Walker in this fight for a couple of reasons. And actually the prop that no matter what the price is, when I see it, I'm taking Johnny Walker round 1 KO, because we saw Paul Craig get hit in his last fight. We saw the blueprint on how to beat him. But dude, Johnny Walker, he's huge. I mean, he's like 6'5", long, hits really hard, throws flying knees, crazy hooks, and he'll spin a lot and try to hit people with the spinning back fist or spinning elbow. I could see him catching Paul Craig with one of those. And I think his jiu-jitsu, Johnny Walker's, is good enough to survive dangerous positions, and he's strong enough to get back to his feet. And he's just wild enough to where he's going to throw everything he's got in that first round. And if he catches them, I think he puts Paul Craig out. I really do. And so I'm interested to see what that line is, because I'm going to be hammering it first round KO Johnny Walker is my prediction. And I do like Johnny Walker to win the fight. I just think he's so athletic, and he did hit a rough patch there, but he was fighting some killers. And but Paul Craig he's almost submission or bust at this point. And if he can't get the submission against Johnny Walker, I don't think he wins the fight.
Yeah. Does he have – I don't even think he has any decision wins in the UFC or even in his career. No.
It might all be submission
wins. 13 submissions and 3 KOs. One of those was snapping Jamal Hill's arm. So,
yeah.
But, I mean, quite the resume for him. Beat Magomed Ankalaev, beat Jamal Hill, beat Nikita Krylov. I mean, he's beaten some good guys in the division, so can't take that away from him. He did get subbed by Jimmy Crute, though. So weird. Knocked out by Khalil Roundtree, knocked out by Alonzo Menafield, and pretty much knocked out by Nikita Krylov, but somehow woke up and got that submission win. So, yeah, I mean, Johnny Walker should win this. He should win it. He is in his home country as well. So, Bear Jew going into enemy territory. I'll take Johnny Walker for my pick, and
yeah,
we'll today.
Yeah, and honestly, one thing I worry about on the side of Paul Craig too is that I think he realized, and everybody realized, that fighting Volkan Ozdemir, shit, if I can't strike with these guys, I might lose to these top higher level guys. I can't just rely on my submission game. So maybe he does try to stand a little bit more with Johnny Walker, and if he does that, I just see him getting clipped at some point. And but yeah, I don't know. I wish Johnny Walker was closer to even money too, because I would be all over it. Minus 175 is just that territory where it's like, man, do I really risk 1.75 units to win just one on a guy that has been finished and knocked out and submitted before? I don't know, but I like Johnny Walker as my pick.
Something about Paul Craig fights where you don't know how it's going to play out that gets you excited about it. It's like, is the guy going to try to take him down, or is he going to try to be aggressive with him and everything like that? And it's when it turns out like the Volkan Ozdemir fights, they're not very exciting. But yeah, Shogun Rua, his last fight, and Ihor Potieria coming in as pretty sizable favorite in this one to Shogun. Minus 185 on BetOpenly, plus 185 coming back for Shogun on BetOpenly. Are you taking the favorite here in enemy territory?
I don't know if I can, because when I looked at Ihor Potiera's last fight, I think he was a pretty sizable favorite, or maybe he was just a slight favorite against Nicolau, and he got pieced up. It kind of showed that was his UFC debut, and it kind of showed that, to me at least, okay, he doesn't have great fight management. He kind of emptied the tank, and when he realized he couldn't knock Nikolai out, it was bad news, and he ended up getting pieced up. And he's going to be fighting a vet, or a legend. I mean, Shogun Rua, who does have good fight management, knows what he's got to do to beat these kind of guys, has been in there with everybody. So Potieria, he better knock him out early, because as this fight goes on, even though Shogun Rua is older, he's still powerful. He's not as fast anymore, but he still has a lot of power. Coming off a split decision loss to Ovince St. Preux, so that could have been a win. And Ovince St. Preux, obviously an older guy as well, lost to Paul Craig, but then he beat Tyson Pedro, lost to Anthony Smith, and then he kind of fought guys. He beat Corey Anderson, but other than that, wasn't really fighting anybody high level. But I don't know. I can't back Ihor Potieria after seeing his UFC debut. I really can't. So this might be a no bet or sprinkle something on the dog, but it's one of those things. I don't trust Potieria because he's so new, and his fight management in his last fight was horrendous, and he has a lot of work to do. He's got holes in his game, and I don't want to back Shogun because he's older. His last fight, I know he's going to give it all he got, but he is older. I don't know how well he's going to wear the damage that Ihor gives him. So it's one of those, I'm kind of split down the middle, but for my pick, I don't know. I'm going to go with the underdog, Shogun Rua. For his last fight, I think he gives it all he got. Maybe finds a decision win here.
Yeah, I mean, Shogun's last performance, he was a plus 210 underdog and lost that split decision. So I mean, kept it close, and one of the judges gave it to him. So there is zero chance I touch Ihor as a favorite here. They're in enemy territory. Everyone knows Shogun's going to retire. Do you think if it goes to decision, he might get a little bit of love from the judges? I think that's a possibility. So the way I'm going to play it, I don't have anything right now. I don't know if I will, but if I do play it, it's probably Shogun by decision. And we'll see what the odds are on that. But as the dog, I don't like betting on guys that are about to retire, as we said before. But as a dog, that's a little bit more intriguing. And in his home country, everybody knows he's retiring. Judges might give him a little something there. Not touching Ihor as a favorite, minus 200 favorite pretty much. So, yeah, give me Shogun for my pick too. Just for the brand of Shogun. Gregory Rodrigues and Bruno Ferreira. Gregory Rodrigues, who was he supposed to fight? Brad Tavares, I believe. Bruno Ferreira coming in off the Contenders Series, destroyed Leon Alio. And then Gregory Rodrigues coming off that insane fight with Chidi and Jokawani where he split his forehead open pretty much. And then win over Julian Marquez. So who do you like in this one?
It's kind of tough because you look at Bruno Ferreira, and he could be one of those guys that comes into the UFC and is one of the more exciting prospects because he gets all these knockouts and he hits like a truck. He looks kind of short and compact on the Contender Series. That round one finish was nasty. But I mean, Gregory Rodrigues, I have been impressed with his durability. If you look at him, he's a big, strong guy. He's definitely going to have the experience factor and definitely the higher level of fights. I mean, Chidi and Jaquani, like you said, had that nasty gash, ended up finding the finish. Julian, the Cuban Missile Crisis Marquez, I'm not too impressed with. So that wins kind of, lost to Armin Petrosian in a split decision. So that's kind of impressive. And other than that, he hasn't really fought any higher level guys either. But I hate taking guys in their UFC debut, but I don't think I'll take anybody on the money line here. I won't take Bruno as an underdog, but I would like to see the KO prop for Bruno just because he does have all these knockouts and he hits extremely hard. And Gregory Rodrigues, had that huge cut in the last fight. Stoppable cut too. I mean, the bone looked like it was showing. It was nasty. If Bruno can crack him a couple times, I think he can hurt him. And we'll just see how that gas tank holds up in his UFC debut. So right now, if I think he's going to win the fight, I think Gregory Rodrigues will use that experience, durability, and just grind out a decision win. But I might sprinkle something on Bruno Ferreira by knockout when those props come out. Because if he's a plus 300 dog, I imagine people think if he's going to win, it will be by knockout. So I bet you get plus 400, plus 450 on the knockout.
Yeah. The big thing I think here between the two guys is the size. Bruno, super compact, but Gregory Rodrigues is 6'3", Bruno is 5'10". They don't have Bruno's reach set out on Tapology, but 75 inches for Gregory Rodrigues. And he's been in there in the UFC with, I don't want to say the best of the best, but like he's been in there with some good guys. Armin Petrosian, Chidi and Jokawani. Even Jun Park is pretty solid. So, yeah, I think he's just more experienced, better all around. He has that BJJ to go to as well. I don't know how much Bruno Ferreira does, but he seems like he's just more of a stand and banger kind of guy. The line is minus 302 for Gregory Rodrigues and plus 302 on BetOpenly for Bruno. I'm going to take Gregory Rodrigues for the pick. I don't see an over-under set out anywhere right now because it was kind of a late ad with Ferreira coming in for Brad Tavares, but I would probably think it doesn't go past a round and a half. The way that Ferreira fights and Gregory Rodrigues is always down to throw down. So I don't think this one lasts very long. Ferreira, he's only been to the second round twice, and he's finished it within the first minute of both of those second rounds. So this one probably won't last long. Looking forward to it, though. These are two really powerful guys, and it should be a really fun fight to watch. But give me Rodrigues. Another late ad here. Melkazile, I think that's how you say it. Melkazile Costa and Thiago Moises. Costa filling in for Guram Kutata Lazzez. I don't think there's a line out for this fight yet, but I would think Moises is going to be a pretty sizable favorite considering his experience. Last win was against Christos Giagos, lost to Yoel Alvarez, and a loss to Islam Makhachev. Costa's loss was on LFA 8 months ago, then a couple wins to get here into the UFC. Are you giving Costa any chance in this one?
It's tough because Moises is a solid fighter and, short notice, making your UFC debut. But if you look at Costa's record, I mean, he's 19-5, fought in the LFA a few times. Other than that, he's not really fighting in any high-level promotions, really, to say. But he is getting a ton of finishes. He's got submissions. He's got KOs. He's been finished a few times. But I don't know. I have this rule where I hate betting on guys making their UFC debut because, especially on a pay-per-view in front of a live crowd like you're going to get in Brazil. I mean, both of these guys are from Brazil, so nobody's got the home court advantage, so to say. But you're going up against a guy who has a ton of experience, who's really well-rounded. I just got to stick with Moises, but until we see the lines, I imagine it's going to be unplayable. I really do.
Yeah.
So for now, Moises is going to be the pick. I guess Costa, 19-5, has some finishes. He's obviously going to have some kind of abilities where he could potentially win this fight if he found a finish. I just don't like the short notice, and I don't like the UFC debut on a pay-per-view card where that crowd is going to suck the energy right out of you if you're already nervous to make your UFC debut. So give me Thiago Moises for the pick.
Yeah, since being in the UFC, Thiago Moises he hasn't fought any really easy fights. His debut was Beneil Dariush. He's fought Damir Ismagulov, Michael Johnson, Bobby Green, Alexander Hernandez, Islam Makhachev, Yoel Alvarez, and then Christos Giagos. So it's like the dude is in a tough fight pretty much every fight in the UFC. He's getting a pretty much an easier fight here. I do think he probably gets it done within the distance, probably by a submission. So that's probably the prop that I'll play in this one when we see the price on it. I'm assuming that's probably going to be the most common prop played. So we probably won't get a great price on it, but the money line will probably be unplayable. I don't think many people will be giving Costa a chance. I wouldn't count him out completely, but Moises has just been around. He's been in the UFC since he was 22, and look at the guys he's fought. And Costa is 26, making his debut. Hasn't fought nearly the level of competition, and they have similar records. So I would find it hard for anyone to take Costa over Moises in this position. Also considering he's coming in on late notice. So give me Moises. The first of the Bonfim brothers we'll talk about, undefeated Gabriel Bonfim, and taking on Munir the Sniper Lazzez. This one's kind of tricky in my opinion. Gabriel Bonfim looked really good on his Contender Series fight with the Von Flue choke. Waters did come in on short notice. Munir Lazzez coming off the win to Angelosa earlier in 2022. This one's tough. I'm kind of torn. The odds on this one, Bonfim is the favorite, -175. Lazzez +175. I'm kind of seeing some value on Lazzez at this point. I really want to take Gabriel Bonfim because he is really he's looked so good, but like until he proves it in the UFC, I don't know that I could back him at this price at minus 175. Lazzez has been in the UFC for what, 3 fights now. The win over Al Hassan, the loss to Worley Alves, and then the win to Angelosa. Really good striker on the feet, kind of moves around, uses his speed and his distance to chip away at you. And he has decent power as well. But Bonfim throws with vicious intent and really good submission game as well. So this one's tough. He's going to be in his home country of Brazil, as always. A general rule going into this card, are you giving the Brazilian fighters any like edge?
I mean, I think I have to, just because Brazil is like it's a fighting country. I mean, those guys live, breathe, and die fighting. So they're definitely going to be behind their countrymen. Whoever's in there, whoever has that Brazil flag is going to get a ton of love, and the other fighter is going to get a ton of hate. It's a hostile environment. You hear fighters talk about it all the time. So I do think it gives them a little bit of edge. If they're losing the fight, I think they're going to fight harder to come back. They don't want to lose in their home country. So I think there is a little bit of edge there.
What are you thinking on this fight? I'm kind of torn.
It is a tough one because, like you said, Lazzez, his striking is super slick. I mean, he beat Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who we just saw flatline Ribeiro this past Saturday, who's got great hands, and he was able to fight 3 rounds with him and get the unanimous decision. He has a ton of finishes on the feet. I mean, he really does. If you look at his resume, the one thing I worry about though is that if Bonfim does get it to the ground, he's just going to be on another level. And I mean, we saw Bonfim get that Von Flue choke on the Contender Series. Like, you never see that on a Contender Series, especially. So I was super impressed with Bonfim. In his home country, I think he definitely gets the win. I'm going to be interested to see what the submission prop is, what the line is on that, because if he gets the finish, I think it's definitely through submission. But Gabriel Bonfim, minus 175. I do like that line right now.
Yeah, the under 2.5 on BetOpenly is minus 138. I don't hate that at all. I mean, the way Bonfim fights, I feel like he's going to make Lazzez fight him. And Lazzez has shown he can stay to the outside and just kind of chip away at you against Angelosa and Al Hassan. But Bonfim goes in there with intentions, man. And a lot of finishes on his record. All 13 of his wins come within the distance. So I don't hate that. I'll definitely keep an eye on that one. Jilton Almeida and Shamil Abdurakhimov. Jilton Almeida on a big win streak here. Massive, massive favorite. Don't look at those odds, though. If we're looking for the best odds right now, minus 762 on BetOpenly for Almeida and plus 762 on Abdurakhimov. Are you giving the Russian any chance here?
I don't think I can. I mean, just looking at the fight that Shamil had against Chris Daukaus, I mean, he got finished by Chris Daukaus. Chris Daukaus not looking good, but he has, fought Sergey Pavlovich and Curtis Blades before. So he's on a 3-fight losing streak. 2 of the fighters he lost to are savages. So, not really any skin off your back there, but he's getting ready to fight another savage. Almeida is just, dude, he could be a guy we look up and is contending for the title in the next year or two. He's a beast. And Shamil is older too. I believe Shamil is
41.
41, and he's got to take on this up-and-coming killer. I mean, I just don't see any way he wins. So yeah, I'm going to stick with Almeida in this one. I just don't think, like I said, minus 900 though. It's like, what do you even do with that? It's not even a parlay piece at this point. The question is going to be, can he finish Shamil? If you can find decent value on a prop, I think the props for him to finish him are going to be really high too and pricey.
Yeah.
So I hate those fights too, because it's like you can smell the finish coming, but there's just no value to put money on it, which sucks. But I guess we'll have to wait and see when that line comes out. What's the over-under?
The over-under on BetOpenly is 1.5. If you're taking the over, you're getting plus 307. If you're taking the under, you're minus 307. they're not expecting this one to go very long. I look at Almeida. I'm like, how did this guy ever lose? He's 17-2. His first loss was in 2017. Second loss in 2018. So he hasn't lost since. I just look at him like, how has this guy ever lost? Like, you watch him fight too, and it's like he never even takes damage. Just controls the guys, muscles them up, even against heavyweights. I mean, he weighed in at 225 against the heavyweights and still takes them like it's nothing. Just cuts through them like it's butter. So yeah, Almeida's definitely the pick, and probably inside the distance somehow, maybe by submission. Let me just see if Abdurakhimov has been submitted before. He's been submitted once and knocked out 5 times. So I mean, he's a heavyweight, deals with the bigger dudes. So
here's something interesting though. DraftKings right now for Jailton Almeida -900, BetOpenly -762. That's a huge gap. I mean, if you're bet on the UFC and you don't have BetOpenly, there's your first reason to get it right there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna add him to a parlay too, it's like that you're missing out on a shit ton of money right there. Just taking the -900 and instead of the -762.
And even if you like Shamil to get the upset here, +625 on DraftKings, +762 on BetOpenly. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, if you're like wider lines like that, you're just throwing away money if you're not doing it on BetOpenly. Terrence McKinney and the second brother Ismail Bonfim. I'm super excited for this one because we all know how exciting Terrence McKinney is. That fight he had with Drew Dober, I was just rewatching it today. Nuts. Got the win against Eric Gonzalez, submission win 5 months ago. Bonfim with the win by decision on Dana White Contender Series. The line on this one is pretty close. On BetOpenly, we're looking at +110 for Bonfim and -110 for McKinney. Over under 1.5, -193 on the under 1.5. What are you thinking on this one?
It's another tough one because you got Bonfim, the Bonfim brother, making his UFC debut as well, fighting a guy like Terrence McKinney. But if you look at McKinney's record, he's not. I mean, he got finished by Drew Dober, but outside of that, he's not really fighting guys that are, ridiculously good by any stretch of the imagination. So even though Bonfim's making his UFC debut here, it will be a really tough test for Terrence McKinney, I think, because Bonfim's so solid everywhere. So if I had to pick, I mean, I like Terrence McKinney's style. I like his finishing ability. But I think Bonfim's going to make this a lot closer than people think. And I do think both guys are good enough here to where it's going to stretch out over the course of a 3-round fight. I think we could see a decision or a late finish. Over 1.5 rounds is +193 here. And that's what I'm targeting just because that's a ton of value. It's only a round and a half. You got 2 guys who are talented enough everywhere that they can survive positions. They're going to be hard to hit each other. So, yeah, my pick, I'm going to go with Terrence McKinney just for the factor that Bonfim's making his UFC debut. But my play on this, I right now looking at it, I like the over 1.5.
You got to have some big nuts to take over 1.5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's always when you're least expecting it, though.
Yeah, I know.
These types of fights. It's like, you'd think you take the under 190 -193, under 1.5. It's a parlay piece. People are like, oh, that's a lock. And then it goes 3 rounds. So I'm banking on it here.
Yeah. Terrence McKinney has been past a round 1 twice in his career. Once in 2018, he got a finish in round 3, and then a loss in the second round to Sean Woodson on the Contender Series. I mean, if he fights like he normally does, the way I would go about this is to take McKinney in the first round, the prop, McKinney first finish in the first round, and then I would live bet it after that. If he doesn't get the finish in the first round, you're probably going to get some really good plus money on Bonfim live because McKinney's going to come out hot and he's going to throw everything at you. So you're probably going to he's probably going to lose the first round. We'll just say that. And then you're going to get some good plus money on Bonfim That's probably how I'll go about it, to be honest, because Bonfim has showed that he can go 3 rounds. He's fairly patient dude. Watching him on the Contender Series, he throws with aggression, but he doesn't necessarily burn himself out. So if this fight continues to go longer, I would favor Bonfim. Like I would hammer him live. If this even makes it to the 3rd round and you're getting a decent price on Bonfim, like I would hammer that. Just watching it live. So that's probably how I'm going to go about it in his home country as well. So the decision could go his way. But either way, I'm super excited for that one. Should be a banger. Warlley Alves and Nicholas Dalby. Warlley Alves, the only man not named Kamaru Usman to beat Colby Covington. Coming off the loss to Jeremiah Wells, and Nicholas Dalby coming off the win to Claudio Silva. This one, pretty even fight here. Look like the line on BetOpenly is plus 115 for Dalby and minus 115 for Alves. Who are you liking in this one?
I actually like the underdog here. And I do think that stylistically this is going to be a good fight. But I don't know. Looking at Dalby, I mean, he had that loss to Tim Means. It was a decision loss. But Tim Means is a good fighter. He's older, he's experienced, and he can hang with the best of them. And I think if Nicholas Dalby can kind of get, I guess, space out his energy throughout these 3 rounds, I think he beats Warlley Alves. Alves is just one of those guys that when I've watched him fight in the past, I haven't been overly impressed. I mean, he does have that round 1 finish against Lazzez, who's on this card too, but I mean, he's got finished by Jeremiah Wells, finished by Randy Brown, finished by James Krause in 2018. So he gets finished quite a bit too. I mean, he is a powerful dude, hits hard, but Dalby's tough. Dalby's got a lot of experience. I think he's like 20-4. Is that right? 24-1. As an underdog here, my money's going to be on Nicholas Dalby. I think he's just going to have to wrestle a little bit, keep the control time, land some ground and pound, do some good work on the top, and hopefully find his way to a judge's decision here in Brazil. But Nicholas Dalby is going to be my play. And when that line comes out, I might be hammering him by decision as well, just because he does have a lot of decision wins on this card.
Yeah. This one's tough just considering how up and down Warlley Alves has been throughout his career. I mean, the win over Colby Covington, lost to Brian Barberena as a minus 600 favorite, lost to Kamaru Usman as a dog. That loss to James Krause, he was a minus 320 favorite. So it's like, if he's in the favorite role, he hasn't really lived up to it. But I mean, he has come through as a dog too, beat Lazzez as a plus 200 dog. So it doesn't really seem like Vegas can get him right. Like, he was a minus 240 favorite against Jeremiah Wells too, and he lost. So it seems like fighters like that, they're just like, throw them to near even. It's just, we'll live with whatever side wins or whatever side loses. For Dalby, I do think if he gets it to the ground, he's going to have an advantage there to just steal rounds on the ground, as we saw with Claudio Silva. But I wouldn't get too invested in either side in this one, just because Alves could come out and look really good, or Dalby could come out and look really good. I don't know. I can't get a good read on this one. It's probably dog or pass for me. Maybe look into it a little bit more as the week goes on, see how they look and where their mind is at or anything like that. But I'm going to take Alves for the pick just because he's in his home country, and probably not going to make any play on that one, but we will see. We'll move on to women's MMA. Josiane Nunes and Zara Fairn. The banger we all wanted to see. Josiane coming in as a favorite. She's on a bit of a win streak here. Her 2 fights in the UFC are to Bea Malecki and Ramona Pasquale. Zara Fairn, a couple losses on her record. If we look at her I don't even know how she's in the UFC, if I'm being honest. Like, she came into the UFC, fought Megan Anderson, lost, fought Felicia Spencer, lost. That was in 2020. She hasn't fought since 2020. Was scheduled to fight Josiane Nunes. She missed weight by a lot. Was scheduled to fight Jocelyn Edwards. She withdrew. Was scheduled to fight Eileen Perez. She withdrew. And now she's scheduled to fight Josiane Nunes again at 145. I don't see how she even got into the UFC. That's really what I'm struggling to figure out. I think it's just because they needed 145ers in the women's featherweight division, so they brought her in, and now the women's featherweight division isn't really a thing. So Josiane Nunes can fight at 135. This one's at 145. She is going to be significantly undersized, but she always is. She always is undersized against whoever she fights. She's just a spam the left overhand and get in your face and maul you type fighter. So a lot younger for her as well. I do think she wins because I just literally have seen nothing good on Sarah Fairn. Like I've even watched her regional fights and she doesn't look good at all. I don't know how she made her way into the UFC. I think they probably have like one more fight left on her contract and they're like just trying to get rid of her at this point. So I wanted to find some value on a women's big underdog, but that's bigger than the other chick. But I just can't do it. It's like I was just watch her and I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't be in the UFC. Nunes by KO. I know you're probably licking your chops at that. Got anything else?
Oh yeah, I just think for Josiane Nunes, she is going to be undersized, like you alluded to. But with her against anybody, all it takes is one. I mean, she hits hard. She's got 9 wins, 7 by knockout, and then Zara Fairn, like you talked about, all the cancellations, all the missed weights. I mean, how dedicated is she even to the sport of MMA? Josiane Nunes is going to be over, probably will close over minus 500 as a favorite. But I'm going to be looking at round 1 KO. I mean, I don't see any value really anywhere else on this fight. I think Josiane by KO is going to be just straight KO is going to be, kind of pricey as well, but you might get some value on that round 1. I could see her going in there and finishing it quick. I mean, Felicia Spencer was able to do it against Zara. It was a round 1 ground and pound. And I think Nunes just has the ability to put the lights out. Like you said, she spams that overhand left. She does hit really hard. If she can just get her up against the cage and tee off, I could see the ref stepping in. I just cannot back Zara Fairn at all. And I think she gets finished. I really do. I think it happens quick, and I'm going to be, like you said, I'm going to be licking my chops to see that line in the first round when it comes out.
Yeah, let's try to look at the odds. On BetOpenly are not out yet, but she's a minus 400 favorite, minus 425. I'm looking at right now. The over under is set at 2.5. The under is minus 135. That's looking pretty dang good.
Yeah, damn, that looks really good.
Yeah, I'm kind of loving that. Now that I'm looking at it, because even Josiane's fight against Ramona Pasquale, she almost had her finished like 2 or 3 times throughout that fight. And she's in her home country. She's gonna want that finish. She's gonna want it. So yeah, her only loss is to Tyler Santos, Josiane. So I mean, she's not bad. Like she's decent. She is if she was taller, man, she'd be a problem, I feel like, but maybe that's why she's good for her height. So give me mini Nunes there. Cody Stamann and Luan Lacerda. I was watching tape on this one too, and I'm like, I don't know how Luan Lacerda. I'm not impressed by him, to be honest. Like, I think Cody Stamann might be one of my better plays of the week. At minus 330, it's not like out of hand where you can't play it at all. But Cody Stamann has fought like the who's who. He's pretty much fought Aljo, Merab Dvalishvili, Said Nurmagomedov and Jimmy Rivera are his only losses in the UFC. So, I mean, he's fought Song Yadong too. I mean, he's fought like killers in the bantamweight division. And granted, he lost to them, but like, can you blame him for that? Is he really going to lose to Luan Lacerda? I don't think so. I mean, I like Cody Stamann a lot this week, and the only thing that scares me is he's in Brazil. But I'm not going to put too much stock into that. I think he gets it done. Luan Lacerda did not impress me at all on film. What about you?
Yeah, Luan, he's got the submission threat, and that's about it from what I've seen at least. And, I mean, Cody does shoot those double legs, and we've seen him leave his neck exposed like he did against Said Nurmagomedov and Said got the guillotine. But I think Said's just a little bit slicker than Luan is. Like you said, Cody Stamann's got all the experience fighting the top-level guys. I don't think this guy making his UFC debut is going to come in and shock the world by any means. I think Cody Stamann's a parlay piece, if I'm being honest. Minus 300, minus 302 on BetOpenly. That's not bad at all. I'm actually surprised. I think people look at that Said guillotine choke and think, okay, if Cody's going to go try for takedowns and stuff, this submission artist might catch him. But Cody's super strong, too. I mean, you look at him, and he's just a bull. And on the feet, I think, obviously, Cody, I believe, will have the advantage. Maybe he decides to just keep it there and just stay away from any potential submission. But I do love him in a parlay. First leg, 330 or 300 on BetOpenly. Cody Stamann, definitely the pick. I think he's just going to wear him down. I think he's just going to outclass Luan Lacerda in this one, even though it is in Brazil.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the UFC is trying to do him a couple favors here. I mean, kind of went through killer's row there. Aljamain Sterling, Alejandro Perez, Song Yadong, Brian Kelleher, Jimmy Rivera, Merab Dvalishvili, Said Nurmagomedov, and then they're like, okay, I'll give you Eddie Wineland, who's making his retirement, and I'll give you a guy making his debut because you've done us some favors in the past. So, yeah, I like Cody Stamann a lot this week, and if he keeps it standing, I saw nothing on film that makes me think Lacerda can stand with him, even though Cody's more of a wrestler. But yeah, give me Stamann. Curtain jerker, Daniel Marcos and Simon Oliveira. Oliveira with the loss in his last time out to Tony Gravely. Marcos with the win on the Contender Series to stay perfect. I watched that Simon Oliveira fight against Tony Gravely. Again, that was pretty much a year ago from today. That was UFC 270. And he could not handle the wrestling. He just was content on going for that guillotine. I don't think Daniel Marcos is going to go for the wrestling in this one, so he's probably not going to have to worry about that. Stand-up looked decent. Daniel Marcos' stand-up looked really good in his Dana White Contender Series fight. But I think he's going to have a bit more of a challenge here with Oliveira. The line on this one is,
I think minus 158, right?
Yeah, I'm BetOpenly minus 158 and plus 158 for Daniel Marcos. So, you taking the favorite or the dog here?
It's tough because both guys, we haven't seen a ton of. I will say that Marcos on the Contender Series, I had a ton of questions about. I did not back him. I lost that bet just because Marcos had, if I remember right, he had this weird 1 or 2 year layoff where he didn't fight anybody. Was it 2 years?
3
years. So that made me really, really nervous. But honestly, he came into the Contender Series and he looked like he hadn't skipped a beat. He looked impressive on the feet. Got the win there against Brandon Lewis. I can't quite remember if he was an underdog in that fight, but I think the lines were close.
I think he was.
Yeah. So he was impressive, but Oliveira is a good fighter. Yeah, you watched that loss to Tony Gravely, and that was his UFC debut. He won a split decision on the Contender Series too, so he's coming off of a loss and coming off of a close win. That makes me a little bit nervous. For me, this might be dog or pass. I mean, Marcos looked really, really sharp in that fight on the Contender Series, and Oliveira just kind of looked so. But it is going to be, Daniel Marcos' first fight in the UFC, and like I always have that rule, I try not to bet UFC newcomers. So on this one, I don't know if I'm going to take a side, but both guys have the ability to finish fights. I'm looking at the line right now, the over-under. It's at 2.5 rounds, and you can get the under 2.5 at -110 on BetOpenly. I think there's fair value there. I think both guys are going to come out of the gate hot. I think you could see an early finish in this one. I don't mind the under 2.5, but as far as money line, I think this fight should be closer to pick 'em just based off what I've seen so far. But I don't know if I can get behind either fighter at this point. But I do like the finishing abilities.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, seems like there's some value on Marcos, but the uncertainty of how good is he? It's his debut. I think this line should be a little bit more towards a pick 'em, like you said. So yeah. If the line moves more towards Oliveira and you're getting better money on Marcos, I might have to put something there before Saturday starts. But at this point, I think it's dog or pass. Won't go too far into it because you explained most of it. Marcos good on the feet. Oliveira pretty solid on the feet as well. But
yeah, it kind of comes down to who. I mean, do you like the submission guy or do you like the striking guy? Because Marcos has a ton of TKO finishes and Oliveira has a bunch of submissions. So should be a close fight though.
Yeah, I'll take Marcos for the pick. But dang, we went through 15 fights. In our video last week, the picks that we made in the video were like so outdated by the time Saturday came. So just keep that in mind if you're watching right now. The picks we make in the video for the video may get changed. But as always, if you're in the Facebook group, you'll know what our bets are and everything. But for the UFC 283, 15 fights from the top down, I'm going Jamal Hill, Brandon Moreno, Gilbert Burns. I'll take Andrade for the pick. I'll take Johnny Walker for the pick. Shogun Hua, Gregory Rodrigues, Thiago Moises. I'm going to go Bonfim for the pick. Almeida for the pick. I'm gonna go with McKinney for the pick. Alves for the pick. Nunes, Cody Stamann, and Daniel Marcos.
For me here, well, hold on 1 second. My computer shut down. Let me get these fights pulled back up real quick. I think we're going to be on the same side of a lot of these, though.
Mm-hmm.
And starting off, there we go. All right, here we go. Jamal Hill, going to be a close one. I'm going Brandon Moreno. I am going to back Gilbert Burns in this fight. I'm also going to take the underdog in Lauren Murphy. It's going to be a risky one. I am going to stick with Johnny Walker. I think Shogun Hua has a chance to upset Ior Potieria. I'm going to take Gregory Rodrigues, Thiago Moises, Gabriel Bonfim, Jailton Almeida, Terrence McKinney, Nicholas Dalby, Josiane Nunes, Cody Stamann, and Daniel Marcos. Those are my 15 from the top down.
All right. And as another reminder, those are not our bets. Those are just picks.
Exactly. Big difference.
Very big difference because, if you're going to make a bet, you got to find the value on it too. So go join the Facebook group. Send us a DM. Send us an email. Get in there, and let's talk some UFC. We got a big card this Saturday. Looking forward to it. What time's the start? We got normal start time for a pay-per-view, so 6 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. for us in the Central. And if you're down in Brazil, what is that? Probably it's around the same time. I think
yeah, I'd say probably closer to.
Is that Eastern time?
Yeah, it'd probably be 3 p.m. for them for the prelims.
Yeah. Other than that, at the Double Egg on all the social medias. If you're watching here on YouTube, please leave a like, subscription, and a comment down below. Let us know who you're taking. At HeyJai Picks on all the medias for me. Where can they find you?
On TikTok, you can find me at The Parlay, Instagram, The Parlay_media, and YouTube and Twitter, The Parlay MMA.
All righty. Till then, at the Double Egg, signing off.